And with that, welcome back. It's time to Tin Chat. As always, alongside Mike Maahs, the radio play-by-play voice of the Fort Wayne TinCaps, I am Justin Prince. Mike, we come bearing some good news still. We are still talking about a first-place baseball team in the Midwest League East Division in the Fort Wayne TinCaps. And on top of that, we're going to get to it in a little bit, but there is some excitement among this roster right now, and they're playing some pretty good baseball.
For the most part, they really are. You know, you go back to the series against West Michigan a couple of weeks ago. They took 3 of the first 4, and then unfortunately the bottom of the 8th inning came on Saturday and Sunday and gave up 4 runs each inning and ended up splitting that series. And they were at home last week and split the 6-game series. But they are in Lansing right now, and they have taken 2 of the first 3 games against the Lugnuts entering play today. And as play starts today, the TinCaps still in first place in the East. Second half record of 22-17. They are a half game in front of West Michigan. They are 1 game in front of Dayton, who comes to town next week. And this season is winding down. There's only 34 games left.
I was going to say, they only got 12 home games left, Mike.
Yeah, 12 home games left, including 6 next week that we'll talk about in just a little bit. But they're getting some good performances by a number of people. I know you want to talk about the youngest player in the league. You may want to talk about the youngest pitcher in the league because he is throwing the ball really well. That's Robby Snelling. But there are some impressive performances. We talked last week a little bit about it's more than just 1 or 2 guys.
Yeah.
Kervin Pichardo, Lucas Dunn. They're all coming through to help in different ways. And that's what a championship team has to do. It's not just 1 or 2 people that excel. It's got to come from everybody on the 30-man roster.
Yeah, you mentioned talking about a couple of those young guys, Mike. First off, we got to give a tip of the cap. We've talked about him the last few weeks. Is Graham Pauly, but Midwest League Player of the Week for last week. Guy's been phenomenal. We've talked about it plenty, but still, you know, coming up in clutch moments with big hits, and he was honored for it last week. Second TinCap this year to be named Midwest League Player of the Week. But we've talked about him a lot. We're going to talk about some other faces, one of them being Ethan Salas, the fresh-faced 17-year-old, the youngest player in TinCaps team history, in their 30-year history. He's 17 years old, was 16 when the season started, when he was down in Low A with Lake Elsinore, and he's now the number 5 prospect in all of baseball, the youngest player to be a top 5 prospect ever in the history of Major League Baseball.
Not only for the month of July was Salas a Player of the Week in the California League, he was the Player of the Month in the California League. And I know everyone is really looking forward to next Tuesday night when Salas will be at Parkview Field for the first time. And what a way to come in what we call a pennant race. And 17 years old. You remember when you were 17? Remember? I mean, that was a long time.
That was a long time ago, Mike. But yes, I was. I remember the mischief I got myself into, and I certainly was not playing baseball against guys that were 5, 6 years older than me, and doing very good things. He hit 366 last month down in Lake Elsinore. Yeah. He's gotten a couple hits in a couple of games up here in Fort Wayne. Got his first RBI yesterday too. But I mean, the kid just continues to show off, and he plays a good catcher back behind the plate as well.
That I've even heard on some of the shows, even on MLB Network Radio, which I listen to a lot, talking about how can a kid.
Literally, he's a kid.
At 17.
He can't vote.
He can't vote. He can't drink. He's lucky he can drive. And yet they're talking about not only the potential he has and the youth and the excitement he brings, but from a defensive standpoint, how he's calling games.
Yeah.
Think about that. To be able to help run a pitching staff and learn the yays and nays of opposing hitters, what to throw them, what not to throw them.
At his age.
And he's only 17.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is.
And I'm anxious to see how he does over the final 30-plus games here.
Yeah, excited to see him get back to Parkview Field for the first time next week. Another young guy who we're going to talk about, Mike, Robby Snelling. the guy, since coming up from Low A Lake Elsinore, has just been phenomenal. He works really, really fast, which I know a lot of people love because he's in and out and, and getting games going really quick. But he has pitched really, really well since coming into a TinCaps uniform.
6 starts, 4-1 record, 2.20 ERA, 28 2/3 innings of work. He has given up 9 runs, only 7 of them earned on 25 hits. He has walked 8, and he has struck out 33 with a 1.15 whip. He is fun to watch.
Yeah, he is.
And again, he's the youngest pitcher in the league.
Yeah.
At 19, slightly younger than Victor Lizarraga, who got the start last night up in Lansing. And yet, maturity beyond his years. Just like Salas, they say, maturity beyond his years. And it only bodes well for the TinCaps, at least for the remainder of this season, and in the general scheme of things for the Padres in the future, as these two guys hone their craft and work up the chain.
I was going to say, you got to be excited if you're a Padres fan, thinking about the battery that those two, Snelling and Salas, can make here, 2-3 years down the line, if and when they make it to the big leagues, because it's going to be fun to watch at that level for sure.
It really is, but we need to enjoy what we've got.
We are enjoying it right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Because, again, starting play tonight, 33 games left, 34 games left, and they're going to go by in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they will. Getting back to the team as a whole now, a couple games left up in Lansing, couple big ones for them up in Lansing against a team that has, the Lugnuts have struggled, put it plain and simple. But get home next week. They're home for 6 of their final 12 at Parkview Field against the Dayton Dragons next week, a team that's obviously right on their heels in this playoff race.
And I'm getting questions from people into potential tiebreakers. And the first tiebreak is head-to-head. TinCaps own the tiebreak over West Michigan 8-7. That series is done. TinCaps lead Dayton 7-5 with 12 games left to be played. So that's going to be important. And the TinCaps with the series with Great Lakes last week, they split the 6 games against the first half division champs. That's going to bode well because in the first half, Loons took 5 out of 6. So steps in the right direction as we get closer and closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it in the past too, Mike. As long as this team is not losing series, things are going okay. Obviously, they need some help, from other teams when they're not playing the Dragons or the Loons. But if they are just splitting series or winning 4 of 6, that is very good for what this team can do down the stretch, and they've done that. They haven't won a series in a couple of series, but they have split each, I think, of the last 3.
Mm-hmm. And one other footnote, and I have commented on our radio broadcast a number of times, for whatever reason this year, the TinCaps are playing better on the road than they are at home. That, I think, is going to bode well down the stretch, especially when you consider TinCaps have, after this series with Lansing is done, they've got a 6-game series at Great Lakes, and they finished the year off with a 6-game series in Dayton.
Yep. So, again, 3 games left up in Lansing this week, 6 games at home against Dayton next week. Mike and I are going to be back at the ballpark for TinChattin next Thursday night. So, make sure you tune in next week. As always, he's Mike. I'm Justin. We're back same time, same place next week. Elijah and I are going to be back with more in the locker room right after this break.